What's up, family? Welcome back to another legendary top of the mood reaction video. Let's go.
Are most black Americans suffering due to racism or the lack of moral character?
Well, it is a false equivalency. It is neither. It is.
So they're not
it
suffering
is-
due to
It is
racism,
both.
and they're
It
not
is
suffering.
more than both.
But you give me too many answers.
Yeah, he just said it's neither, but then it's both, but then it's more than.
But that's all you can get, though. I mean, everything's not a soundbite. There are some things.
No, I want to know:
that-
is it yet? Are they suffering due to racism or the lack of moral character?
It is not either or. It
So
is
they're
both.
not suffering due to racism, and they're not suffering due to the lack of moral
It
character.
is both and some more. Does racism affect black employment? Yes. Are there other things that affect black employment? Certainly there are. Racism is one of them. Perhaps some character issues, depending on who the person is.
Let me go back to this. First, I want to say that racism doesn't exist. It's an illusion. What do you say about that?
I say that's silly.
You say that's silly?
Yes, sir.
Why do you say it's silly?
Well, I've been called names enough to know that racism exists.
We all call each other names. Doesn't mean it's in regards to race. You know, you can get frustrated and call somebody a name because you're frustrated with them.
But that could be because they just hated you. They made a judgment and they hate you, not because your color, they just hate you.
Exactly.
Do you ever have fights with family members?
No, I refuse.
But
Fight
you know
with-
family members do fight, right?
Sure,
And is that racist?
not necessarily, no.
And so why is it that when blacks and whites fight, is racism?
It's automatically that. I agree.
You're oversimplifying reality.
Just to-
I think he's simplifying it, if you ask me, because it's simple. You know what I'm saying? Your reality is what you created in your mind, so it is an illusion. Because at the end of the day, we're all people, and you spread that peace, love, and respect, and you spread that peace, love, respect to the utmost ability, and you let the love supersede the hate. But at the end of the day, the only way you can add a hatred type of stigma to something is in regards you either had to be taught it, or that's how it becomes an illusion, because you're either taught it consistently, or you just happen to not like something, so you put a hatred type of stigma to it, holding resentment to it, to whatever you've been through in your experience that created that illusion. But doesn't mean that just because someone says something is automatically racist, or like, I don't believe. See, when it comes to a topic like this, where races and racism, I just feel like some people are just taught it because they can either be brought up within their family and taught to approach or look at someone a certain skin color with perspective, but it's still an illusion made up for someone who had either experience with someone in that group, minority group, or that race group, or whatever the case may be, and they're putting their experience onto their children, which they may raise up to keep that illusion going. Now, at the end of the day, I feel like we weren't born into racism, right? We weren't born in the sense of to hate each other. We were born in the sense of we were born fearless. Just like fear is taught, I feel like racism is be taught. It can be taught, and it is taught because it creates that illusion. But it doesn't really exist. We create that reality based on our own experiences, and then we tend to run with it. So I do agree. That's just my take on it. Comment down below how you guys feel, family.
the Bible say that we have a race issue or a spiritual issue?
I think
Spiritual.
the biggest problem with us when it comes to race relations is not skin, but sin. And so that issue.
Bro, why you can't answer that question, bro? Just answer the question, bro. That's all I'm saying, bro. Like, you over here beating around the mulberry bush, answering what it's not race, but it's sin. He asking you what the Bible states and what we battle with, which is spiritual warfare. If you Ephesians, you Ephesians 6. Let me make sure that's right. It's in Ephesians though. You know, you put on the breastplate of righteousness. You have put on a helmet of salvation. It's all spiritual warfare. You know what I'm saying? So it's like at the end of the day, it's not race. That's what he's trying to make a point to this man. Hold up. Spiritual warfare. I want to make sure I quoted the right section in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Ephesians chapter 6 is in Ephesians chapter 6 when you look through that chapter. But we all battle with the principalities. It's not against flesh and blood, but the principalities of the wickedness, in which we put on the full armor of God, because we're battling with spiritual warfare. So sometimes you might have a type of, it might be tension or a problem that you're coming in peace, love, calmness, you're humble, and someone may be coming at you some type of way, but in reality it's really not them. It's something within them, and it's spiritual warfare. You know what I'm saying?
Of our problem starts on the inside. It's a person's heart. And
So the Bible
that's
says that
what-
we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spirits and principalities and wickedness in
Yes,
high places.
exactly.
Meaning that it has nothing to do with skin color. It has nothing to do with male and female. It's good versus evil. Am I right about that?
I believe you're right about that.
So then why should children of God go along with the children of the lie and call it racism when it's really not racism, something that doesn't exist, never has existed, and because it doesn't exist, we can't solve it. Why not call it what it is? So
you
we
actually think racism has never existed?
Right.
Do you think you could trace your family history back to a thing called slavery, or is that my imagination?
I can. A matter of fact,
so you don't think slavery was racism?
No.
You weren't. Your parents.
Because there were black people who owned slaves as well.
That's not my point. The point is, why were you a slave?
Because they just happened to own me. But let me tell you
But
this.
it had nothing to do with your race.
Well,
is
no.
there a reason why the preponderance?
It's all still surrounded around hatred. And we had to overcome that and fix that and correct that, because it was just all wickedness. It was something that happened, unfortunately, just like we can say the Holocaust happened, unfortunately, throughout human history due to our mistakes and, us having free will. But at the end of the day, it was all just something that was seen permissible that wasn't really permissible. It was just surrounded around an act of hatred, spiritual warfare, the principalities of wickedness that spread it. And we have to stay on our P's and Q's to prevent that. Reading a good book, keeping it aligned with yourself, being whole, walking in faith and not by sight. However, with that being said, mentioning those couple of things, something just came to my mind and just went away. Just like we had those horrifying acts, or those acts that was seemed allowable at the time or whatever. I still don't believe, I agree with Jesse, it's not race. This man is trying to surround race with the slavery, with slavery. And the simple fact is, the same way back in the book when Saddam got destroyed by God, and it was wickedness, a lot of incest and everything going on. That wasn't racism. You know what I'm saying? Just because we could go back and say, if that's the case, he could go back and say that was racism, because the Canadians and so forth, they did it with those type of individuals, those certain type of groups that were doing wicked things. So that's not the case. It's just the act of hatred and ignorance and lack of knowledge, as it say in Hosea chapter 4 verse 6. If those who lack knowledge reject knowledge, and God will reject you. So I feel as though over time we just had to learn that act of slavery, that act in the Holocaust, that act of those horrible things that took place, they weren't right. They weren't right. Slavery, period. Out of respect for humanity and respect for each other, spreading that peace, love, and positivity, because that's what it's about, and coming together in unity. Because two is always greater than one. You feel me? So I feel like we had to wise up and fix it. You know what I'm saying? So
Of slaves in America, they were just accidentally black.
But you know, white people have been enslaved as well by other whites,
course.
right? And then blacks have been enslaved by other blacks. In parts of Africa,
That's right.
they're still. Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
racism?
Probably not. No,
Yes or no?
I said probably not.
I know, but I need a yes or no. You're a pastor, so I want to try to help people.
Yeah, I understand that.
Is
But
that racism when blacks
enslave
other
other
blacks?
blacks?
Yeah.
It can be racism, sir.
When
That's the
blacks
issue.
enslave other blacks?
can be, yes.
How is that?
I'm black, you're black, I take you to the white slaveholder because you're black. That's racism on my part and his.
But we're not talking about white on black slavery. In Africa, black on black.
Yeah,
Slavery, no white people around.
yeah,
Is that racism?
it can be.
But is it?
what do you mean it can be, bro? What are you saying, bro? What do you mean it can be? That's what I'm saying. That's where I was getting to. If that's the case, you might as well say black people, we are the problem. It really be us the problem, because we kill each other and we slave each other, and then we sit there and say, oh, it's not racist. But then when the opposite race do the same thing that we're doing, it's racist. You can't pick and choose, man. What's wrong is wrong, is right is right.
You'll have to check his heart. I don't know. The reality is,
Check his heart, bro. Love is action. It don't matter what it... The heart, listen. You can't let your mind trick your heart. First of all, you can't let your mind trick your heart in the sense of spreading that pureness, that genuine, that righteous and just love. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't really trick your heart, but your mind can trick you into thinking your mind can, just like the mind and the body is connected. You could trick your mind, but you can't trick your heart. That's what I'm trying to say here. But you can get caught up in your head and trick yourself, period, and not follow your heart and be foolish. And with that being said, he talking about checking his heart. It's a lot. Check his heart. The only person that knows the heart from the purest form is God. So the only way we would know someone's heart is a man who he is by the way of his heart, through his action.
the preponderance, the most of white.
Now I want him using these vernacular. I'm not gonna pause it no more, family. He's trying to use vernacular words to not be direct in answering the question. It's just funny.
Preponderance, the most of white on black slavery was racism.
How do you know
if
that?
If you read the writings, if you read the diaries, if you check the historical statements made by the folks who held the slaves, the disrespect, the disregard, making them
but black people
three-fifths,
did other
making
blacks
them,
worse than
making
that.
them not a person, then 3/5 of a person. That is racism. It was institutionalized, codified right there in the
No,
Constitution.
that was for the power of the
Of
vote.
course it was, but it's still racism,
No, it's
regardless
not.
of what your motive is.
Let me
it's
move
racism.
on.
All right.
Morality. I say that most black Americans are suffering not because of racism, but the lack of moral character. Most blacks are immoral. Do you disagree with that?
I think that's a stupid statement, sir, with all due respect.
And do you disagree?
I definitely disagree, yes.
And why do you disagree?
Well, to say that most blacks are immoral, I disagree because it compares, it by virtue of the context in which you say it, it is in comparison to whites. I think that's what you're saying.
I wasn't thinking that way, but okay.
Well, I mean, you have to have some context
But
to
you
it.
disagree with me, right?
Oh, yes.
72% of black babies are born out of wedlock today.
And what's
Is
the
that-
percentage of white babies
Is
born
that
out of
immoral?
What percentage of white babies are born out of wedlock?
Answer my question.
I happen to know. if
But
you're
is that
interested.
immoral?
It's definitely immoral.
So these blacks who are having these babies are carrying out, performing an immoral act, right?
Uh-huh.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Black on black crime out of control in most of the cities.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes, well, not even sometimes, all the time. Comparison is a thief for joy. He's so busy trying to deflect and focus on whites and make this a white and black thing. When in reality, if you want to stand up for your, be stand up for your black people, whatever the case may be, take the facts and take the heat. Take the heat for what it is. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we do it to ourselves. We are the problem. You walk around saying Black Lives Matter and, stand up for each other. Um, you know, um, civil rights and this, that, and the third. And at the end of the day, Black lives, what lives? All lives matter. That's what I'm trying to say here. Black life. What is Black Lives Matter? Cause it's a black man, my skin color, black. We killing each other every day. So black who? We the problem. We are the problem. You can't sit there and try to look at a situation and not sit back and say, wait, am I the problem? I may be the problem within this. Let me check myself first. All means necessary. Let me examine the whole situation within myself and what part I'm taking in this and partaking in this. So black life who? Black life nothing. But then I'm not sitting here standing with no organization, period. Because all lives matter. All lives matter. I'm going to say it again. It's just morals. You standing for something for all humanity. You're either going to stand for all humanity or stand for none. It's that simple. Don't make it a certain group. Because if that's the case, that's just ignorance all in one. Let's go back to what he just said about Ephesians 6. Spiritual warfare, right? So why wouldn't we stand together and we just separate ourselves and stand for certain people on top of... Let's just go. Let's just go with what he's saying. Hypothetically. He's talking about raising black people, this, that, and the third. Right? And how slavery and slavery was what it was and how we were treated and this, that, and the third, X, Y, and Z, right? But how more ignorant can you be, first of all? You chanting around Black Lives Matter, we matter, this, that, and the third. Like I said, one, we kill each other every single day. Black on black crime. Families already be broken. And that's just all, that can be all race. Broken families that create these illusions. Because they're misguided or guidance. Or that's the way the family was surrounded in that illusion and built up within that illusion that you partaked in. But you still have to ask for wisdom. Or you will be ignorant to situations like this. So let's go to my hypothetical where I'm leading up to now. He's basically saying Black Lives Matter. And he's standing with this whole Black Lives slavery and so forth, right? But if it was wrong for slavery from both ends, white, black, purple, whatever, it was just a hated act, a hatred act. It was just wrong. It was just unjust, unrighteous, right? How ignorant can you be to sit there and say, Black Lives Matter, I'm standing with this organization, and slavery and this, that, and that, and the white people did this and this, that, and the third. So second, I already mentioned we kill ourselves every day. Second, you don't want to examine yourself and realize that you are part of the problem. Black people are part of the problem. Third, why would you stand for just black people and be ignorant to other race? For what? What is that doing? Is that really? Because like I just said, Ephesians chapter 6 is spiritual warfare, right? So it's really has nothing to do with people, flesh and blood. So why be ignorant and exclude certain people and try to head this whole organization, which is another evil act, and coming at different race? Supposedly standing up for your race instead of just standing up for all people and coming in this together and just fighting for what's right. I don't get it.
Is that immoral?
I couldn't call that necessarily immoral.
Wait.
Most of the cities. Is that immoral?
I couldn't call that necessarily immoral.
It's not immoral. Why
It
not?
depends on what crime, who's protected.
See? You see how he just went? He said, first of all, he said he wouldn't call black people owning black slaves on their own people racist. Now he say black on black crime is not immoral. But then he just said black people having babies out of wedlock is immoral.
Participating in it. How many people?
But first of all, the bloodshed is the most important, is the most greatest sin. So let's keep going.
You know, you went from the one about the babies and you left a question unanswered.
What was that?
The majority of white babies are also
Well,
born
why
out
are
of
you
wedlock
bringing
now.
up whites when we're talking about blacks?
Well, because why are you picking on blacks?
I'm not.
Why,
I'm not
why,
picking
why,
on blacks.
I mean, it's
I
an
brought you here
American
because I'm
problem.
trying to help blacks.
See, why are we talking?
Now he's trying to broaden the horizon now, because he's taking it so personal with a personal connotation to it that he just want to he want to stand up for blacks, black this, black that, in comparison to white, and making this a black and white thing when it's not. Now, since he's sitting here and Jesse's sitting here making him confront the problem and saying, look at yourself, look at black people, look what they do. You want to keep talking about white? Look what you're doing. Your people. Look at this. Look at it. Now he wants to broaden it. It's an American thing. Man, I tell you, man. Something else.
About racism then, because it's an American problem,
How's
not
it-
a black
it's not
problem.
an American problem.
It is an American problem.
How's
The
that?
majority of babies in America now are born out of wedlock.
But see, we're talking about the issues of black Americans today, and how are you going to help them if you justify their bad behavior?
Oh, no.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you. If you're going to stand for something right, if that's what you want to do. But at the end of the day, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, these black people that you standing up for, they ain't going to stand up for you. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be real. A white person going to stand up probably for me. 9 times out of 10, white person probably going to stand up for me before a black person. But like I said, this ain't got nothing to do with a black and white thing, man. This about just helping, uplifting, loving, and uplifting and standing up for each other. Black, white, purple, green, orange. I don't care, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care, bro. I don't care if you copper, bro. You looking like a penny out this mug.
Nobody's justifying.
Bob,
I don't care if you looking as, I don't care, bro. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if you purple, you turquoise, you man, whatever.
pointed out what white people are doing because blacks are already blaming everybody else for their problems instead of themselves, so they're not getting better. And so that's why I brought you here, to make them focus on themselves and stop talking about what the white man is doing.
Okay. Black people who are focusing on yourself, stop.
But no, you are pointing out, when I ask you about immorality and all this stuff, you pointed out what the white man did.
No,
and
no,
don't know
I
why.
only did it because you are, by definition, comparing black people to whites.
I'm not.
What, by
He just told you, bro. He trying to, bro. This man not listening, bro. This man, bro. He just said he wanted black people to look at themselves.
definition,
No, I'm not comparing them at all. I'm
You were
talking
saying
about.
it- you
I'm
know-
talking about the way that God wants us to live as a people if we want to survive on Earth.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. It didn't get that much simpler, man. But anyway, man, if you're new to the channel, come join the family. Hit that subscribe button. Turn your post notifications on. Let the love supersede the hate. And comment down below any legendary topic of reaction videos you guys want to see. Peace, family.